Chapter 6, English Privateers, Hawkins and Drake. Soon after the middle of the 16th century, France and Spain made peace with each other. Then English privateers began to take the place of the French in the Caribbean. In 1562, John Hawkins of Plymouth made his first voyage to the West Indies. He had traded with the Canary Islands and had learned that the Spanish colonists in Hispaniola needed laborers. He sailed to the West African coast, secured 300 Africans, and took them across the Atlantic to Santo Domingo, where the colonists gladly traded ginger, sugar, hides, and pearls for the slaves. Returning to England, Hawkins sold the West Indian goods at a high price. On his second voyage, 2 years later, Hawkins met stormy weather. He visited Dominica and then sailed on to the mainland, reaching Guyana near the mouth of the Orinoco. He found the colonists quite ready to trade, but the officials, obeying orders from Spain, tried to prevent it. Hawkins was in great need of fresh water and food for his men, and many of the slaves had died. He threatened to fire on the colony if he was not allowed to trade. And so at last he was permitted to exchange the slaves for hides and pearls and take food and water on board. In 1567, Hawkins made a third voyage. He had 5 vessels, and his cousin, Francis Drake, sailed with him. They brought Africans as before, and after trading with the islanders, they sailed on to the main. Trading was difficult, and then a hurricane swept down on the ships, badly damaging them. Hawkins begged to be allowed to enter a harbor to repair his vessels. Leave was granted, and then the English ships were attacked by a Spanish fleet. Hawkins and Drake escaped with 2 ships, but 100 of their men were made prisoners by the Spaniards. Francis Drake never forgave the Spaniards for this. 5 years later, he again visited the Spanish Main, hoping to have his revenge. He landed at Nombre de Dios and made friends with the natives. They offered to guide him and some of his men across the hills to a place where they would be able to waylay the Spanish mule train bringing silver from Peru across the Isthmus of Panama to the Atlantic coast. The attack was made, the mule train was robbed, and the silver and pearls were stowed away in Drake's 2 ships. During this expedition, Drake was guided by the natives to a tree, from the top of which he had his first sight of the Pacific Ocean and vowed to sail on it. In 1577 to 1580, Drake made his most famous voyage. He sailed round the south of South America, through the strait discovered by Magellan 60 years earlier, but through which no other ship had passed until Drake's Golden Hind made the passage. As no foreign ship had ever been seen on the Pacific coast of South America, the Spaniards were completely taken by surprise. Drake raided the ports of Valparaiso and Lima and captured a richly laden Spanish galleon. Then, with a valuable cargo of gold, silver, and precious stones, he crossed the Pacific to the East Indies and sailed back to England by way of the Cape of Good Hope, the first captain to sail round the world. Magellan's ship had sailed round the world 50 years earlier, but Magellan himself had been killed on the way. Throughout the 16th century, however, Spain remained in full possession of the West Indian Islands, as far as Europeans were concerned. Her possessions in the islands and on the mainland were attacked from time to time by other nations. Her ships bringing their rich cargoes to Spain were waylaid by pirates and privateers. But no other nation could yet trade openly in Caribbean waters, and no other nation had yet made a settlement in the West Indies.